It's been a few weeks since we put out a video on this channel. I apologize for that. I've been dealing with a few real life issues. For example, I got all 4 wisdom teeth pulled out, which was really fun. So I thought it was a really good idea to come out with a unique sort of video, a top 10 most versatile cards in Marvel Snap list. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. If you disagree with any of my inclusions, if you think that I missed something really obvious. Coming in at number 10, I got Enchantress on this list. The reason that Enchantress is here over Luke Cage is because Luke Cage is more based on the high evolutionary meta. Enchantress is kind of a meta dependent card as well, but she's just an incredibly strong card. 5 power for 4 energy is a solid rate, and her ability of removing all ongoing cards at this location is just incredibly powerful. There's a number of ways that Enchantress just makes you better, including if you're running a card like Typhoid Mary or even Lizard and you throw her in the same location, you might kill your opponent's ongoing cards while making your Typhoid Mary not negate the power of everybody else around you. I got High Evolutionary coming in at number 9, and I know that might shock a lot of you, but realistically, High Evolutionary is actually a lot more versatile than people are giving it credit for. In just a lot of good card decks, or basically almost any type of deck, we see it in Lockjaw all the time, all you really need is High Evolutionary, Wasp, and Hulk. It's just 3 extra cards that you throw into a deck, and all of a sudden that deck has a massive amount of potential. High Evolutionary doesn't have to just be based around it making every card in the deck more valuable. It could literally just be inserted into a deck where 2 cards are affected by him, and it makes a world of difference. I got Sunspot at number 8, and Sunspot is just one of those cards that you could probably insert into almost any type of deck if you need a 1-drop. He's gonna end up soaking some power throughout the matchup most of the time. Even if Sunspot ends up with only 3 power, that's 3 power from a 1-drop, and that's just above the going rate. Now, of course, there's gonna be incredible combos where Sunspot just goes insane, like in High Evolutionary. Sunspot may not be the best 1-drop anymore, but he's still just an incredibly versatile card that made it to 8 on this list. I have America Chavez at number 7. If you have Chavez in the deck, it's almost like you're drawing from an 11 card deck, which means that the important cards are going to come out a little more often when you need them to come out. Cards like Kitty Pryde need to be out there as early as possible when you're running a bounce deck. Well, Chavez runs really well in that type of deck. There's only 11 cards to draw from for the first 5 turns, so you're far more likely to get Kitty at some point. If you are a small card kind of zoo deck or bounce deck or anything like that, and then you end up getting waived on turn 5, they thought that they had handcuffed you and just stopped you right dead in your tracks. Now all of a sudden you have Chavez just automatically there to save the day. She's also obviously very good in discard decks where Dracula automatically has a high power target. She's also an automatic high power drop in a Lockjaw deck because you know that there's 9 power in your deck no matter what before turn 6. Now we're getting into a little bit more of the kind of higher series cards. We have Iron Lad coming in at 6, and Iron Lad is the epitome of a good card. You sort of have to make sure that you build a deck around Iron Lad because there are going to be certain cards that don't match up well with him. But the list of cards that work really well with Iron Lad and the deck archetypes that work well with him is a lot higher than the decks that don't work with Iron Lad. Iron Lad is legitimately one of the best ways that you can spend your tokens right now in Marvel Snap. There's a number of reasons that you can include Iron Lad in a deck, and his skill almost never goes to waste. Now we're starting the top 5 list, and we got Nebula at number 5. And I know I've mentioned this a few times. If you're missing a 1-drop from a deck and you don't know what to put in, well, Nebula is the number 1 choice. And if your opponent doesn't play into her location 1 time, she's a 1/3. That's above the going rate for a regular 1-drop. If they don't play into that location twice, well, now she's a 1/5 and an absolute stud out there on the battlefield. In my opinion, you don't need to build a deck around Nebula. You just need to use her, throw her out there on turn 1. Don't even worry about her. Let your opponent worry about her. Because the more your opponent ignores her, the stronger she's gonna get, and the more she's gonna take over a location by herself. And even if she can't end up taking over a location by herself, it's still enough of a distraction that your opponent is probably putting too much power in that location, so you can just go ahead and win the other two. Zabu is fittingly number 4 on this list because, as you know, Zabu makes your 4-cost cards cost 1 less. You may be sitting there going, how is this versatile? It's specific only to 4-cost cards. Well, 4-cost cards are usually the best cards in the game, or at least a large percentage of 4-cost cards are very, very useful. In my opinion, as long as you have 3 4-cost cards in your deck, you should automatically include Zabu. It shouldn't even be a question. A discount on the cost of your cards is so incredibly strong in a game like Marvel Snap, where you have limited energy and you need to make sure that every bit of energy goes to something important. There's an argument to be made that you can use 3 4-cost cards in almost every type of archetype. Zabu's not exactly undervalued, but sometimes might be a little bit of an underrated card. Number 3 on my list of versatile cards is not going to be a surprise to anybody. It's Dr. Doom. He probably would have been number 1 if he didn't get that slight nerf the other day. Dr. Doom is just out there spreading 13 power across the board to locations that you might otherwise not be able to reach. And an argument could be made that you can include him in almost every single deck. At least you definitely were including him in, I would say, 85 to 90% of your decks before he got that slight nerf where his Doom bots are only 4 power each. I really don't have to talk about Doom very much because everybody knows how powerful this card still is even after the nerf. Number 2 on the list is Jeff the Baby Landshark. I always seem to have regrets when I don't have Jeff actually in my deck during vital situations in every game, and I could always make an argument to use him as the 2-drop instead of another card in that deck. Jeff does so much work when your opponent shuts down a lane with a Spider-Man or a Professor X, or Sanctum Sanctorum comes up, or some other location gets shut down and you're not able to play cards in there. Well, Jeff is the surprise possible turn 6 card that turns your opponent's head upside down and ends up winning you a second location that your opponent thought that they had locked down. We don't know how long Jeff will be a Series 5 card, but with the kind of flexible series drops, it's gonna be hard to determine whether or not he's dropping anytime soon. He is an absolutely amazing card that I would be inclined to spend the tokens on when we find out whether he's dropping in series during the next patch. But number 1 is, of course, Shang-Chi. And I personally feel like we don't necessarily see Shang-Chi enough anymore. As you can see, according to SnapFan, he is still the number 1 most played card, but he's only seen in 29% of decks. He used to be up there in the 60-65% range of decks that he was played in because he's just so incredibly important. He really just negates a lot of your opponent's big time power, and it helps out in most situations. Shang-Chi is the biggest swing card in the game, and honestly, you can just fit him into literally any deck that you build. I'm not saying you need him in every deck, but he's just that versatile, and he definitely belongs on the number 1 spot, even over everybody's beloved Jeff. If you enjoyed this, please give it a thumbs up and let me know in the comment section if you want to see more lists like this. I really enjoy doing top 10 lists and ranking cards. I think it's a lot of fun. I also know that people have rankings in their own head for these types of lists, and I'd love to hear what you think in the comment section below. I really love interacting with you guys and hearing your opinions. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have yourself a wonderful rest of your day.